Amy Stroud, it's the day we've all been waiting for.
It is the day. It's Back to the Future Day here on Mid Mornings with Amy. Good morning. It is Wednesday, October the 21st, and it is Back to the Future Day, but also it's Apple Day, National Apple Day, International Day of the Nacho, and Reptile Awareness Day. So celebrate accordingly. But we are focusing on Back to the Future Day here.
This is an episode 30 years in the making.
And after today, Back to the Future will have taken place in the past. So this is a big day. And here to celebrate with us, of course, Greg and I are here with you, and Jeff Taylor, who's back on the show. Jeff is with the
Hey, what's going on?
Lake Cumberland Blues Society, and a little bit later this morning, Jeff will be performing his bluesy rendition of Huey Lewis's Power of Love right here in the studio. And it's so good to have back Dr. Jonathan Moore from Cumberland Foot and Ankle. You are our town movie expert, and so glad to have you back on the show. And before we get started talking all things Back to the Future, tell us a little bit about what's happening at Cumberland Foot and Ankle.
Wow. Well, first of all, it's great to be here talking about a movie that I love so much. But at Cumberland Foot and Ankle Center, we have a lot of exciting things. We're very excited to have a experienced orthopedic doctor in the office, the non-surgical physician, Dr. Schuler, Cumberland Bone and Joint, and we have, of course, an excellent physical therapy program with David Escobar, and a lot of foot and ankle physicians, surgeons, to take care of pretty much anybody's foot and ankle needs. And exciting also is we have a med spa that's opening, and we have an incredible staff and some really sophisticated equipment and really cool tools that we're going to use to help people aesthetically in their feet and ankles. So we're excited about that.
You have brought in a very nice prize that we will be giving away later on the show. We will also be giving away a clock from the Mole Hole a little bit later on the show. But today, October the 21st, 2015, Dr. Moore, in case people don't understand the significance of that date and how it relates to Back to the Future, explain.
Oh, wow. So Robert Zemeckis, the director of Back to the Future, the trilogy, wrote a story about time travel, and of course, we see this incredible character played by Michael J. Fox go back to the past first, and in the first movie, back 30 years, and then part two goes into the future. To 2015. Of course, the date that we're talking about today is the day that Marty McFly goes back to the future. And then, of course, in part three, we go back to the Wild Wild West. And, and of course, a great story about friendship, love, and so just so many great elements to this film that make it so memorable.
You're a fan of the movie Back to the Future and the trilogy. I love the movie. Greg loves the trilogy. We've been catching up on watching all three parts this week. Jeff Taylor, are you a fan of Back to the Future? It's okay if you don't like it. We just won't spend a lot of time talking to you about it this morning.
I like that movie. That was how I just went to my 30-year class reunion, and we were all talking about how
Back to the
cool
Future.
that movie was, and it was a history maker. And and some of the stars that was offered parts, that were submitted, later were put out of the cast of that in the making of that movie. So
Eric Stoltz was actually won the role of Marty McFly. I think that's what you're talking about, and actually filmed for 4 weeks before Michael J. Fox became available. Robert Zemeckis wanted Michael J. Fox, wanted a humorous actor. And Eric Stoltz evidently played the character too serious, and
so that's how Michael J. Fox
got the role 4 weeks after the beginning of filming.
That'd actually be interesting to see all that 4 weeks of the part where he played early parts of that movie. Was really cool to see.
Those are two completely different personalities from actors.
They are.
It sure would have been a different movie with Stoltz.
Very much so.
Absolutely. But of course, Michael J. Fox was tied up with Family Ties. Family Ties was a big show in the 80s, and actually the filming of part 2 and 3 of Back to the Future happened back to back. It was the first time a sequel was filmed back to back. Of course, now it's common, but it was done because they were trying to accommodate Michael J. Fox's schedule on TV with Family Ties.
Yes. Well, he obviously, I think that's probably the role he is most known for, even including his time on Family Ties.
Yeah.
He is Marty McFly. Dr. Moore, you attend a lot of, or have in the past, red carpet events, and I think you've even been to the Oscars. Is that right?
We've been to the Spirit Awards. My daughter and I go to the Spirit Awards. We go to L.A. every Oscar weekend. We over the past several years, and so we've been to the Vanity Fair after party, and but it's really hard to get into the Oscars. But we always, my oldest daughter Gabrielle, who's in college right now, have made a trek just about every year to go in February to L.A. But
have you had an opportunity to meet Robert Zemeckis or any of the actors and or actresses from Back to the Future?
Yeah. Of course, it would be great to meet Michael J. Fox, but I've got a chance to meet Leah Thompson, who of course plays Marty McFly's mother, who of course does a great job of playing his mother. And of course, in part one, the mom tries to obviously it's a weird situation where Marty McFly tries to get his mom to hook together, of course, with Kristen Glover, his father, but also met Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd is a fantastic, very shy guy, but was so genuinely nice. And Leah Thompson was, of course, beautifully nice as well. But met both of those characters, and that was a real treat. Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd came from Taxi. He was always my favorite character on Taxi. There were so many memorable scenes and lines from Back to the Future, and this was, of course, directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Right.
The film itself. And I believe I read that it cost about $19 million to make that film, but at the box office it was in the hundreds of millions that it made.
Yeah, it was a remarkable success, and both financially, of course, at that time we were talking about 1985, where today movies make billions of dollars. A movie back then that made 200 million or even 100 million was a remarkable feat. But a huge success, and of course Robert Zemeckis would go on and of course win. Of course, would be most notable for Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Forrest Gump, and then of course a lot of animated features, including Who Killed Roger Rabbit. So a lot of course, Robert Zemeckis is a genius. So great director.
Favorite movie of the trilogy?
Well, I tell you, I think the first one was I think most people would say the first one because
I think so too.
I don't think there's even a race really for the best
Greg,
one.
the Back to the Future, your favorite,
absolutely,
Jeff.
The first
Yeah, I would say the first one.
I enjoyed the first two very much.
Absolutely.
The third, where they go back to the Wild West, was not my favorite, but one of my favorite actresses, Mary Steenburgen, was in that.
Yes, she was fantastic. Playing the love interest, of course, of Doc Brown.
My least favorite is the third, but I'd like to say that my biggest laugh of the whole thing comes in the third, when the Doc takes that shot of whiskey and falls straight through the table, and everything just catapults into the air. For me, that's the biggest laugh of the whole series, is when he face plants into that table.
Wow, yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that one of the greatest scenes, what makes the first Back to the Future so great, is the character of the Crispin Glover character,
George McFly.
Yes. Building his courage up, and of course knocking out Biff Tanner, and that the music that was actually composed by Alan Silvestri, which is just amazing soundtrack. And of course we're going to hear a little bit of the soundtrack a little bit later, but the soundtrack's one of the most incredible soundtracks ever. Alan Silvestri went on and did the Forrest Gump soundtrack
with Robert Zemeckis.
Exactly, which is fantastic. But that scene where he punches out Biff Tanner, and of course that changes the future. Is of course just still gives me chills.
It's one of the great moments of modern cinema, in my opinion.
And we're still talking about it today. You mentioned this movie, of course, was 1985, and movies today are just so sensational, and it's really hard to sort of get that core character development sometimes with so many movies. And I think that's one of the many things that made Back to the Future. The fact we're still talking about it today, it influenced, I think, movies and culture
I think so
a bit.
too. And I will tell you that you see, even going back to Star Wars, you imagining Star Wars without John Williams, you don't have the same movie. But you imagine Back to the Future without Huey Lewis. and without the incredible music, The Power of Love, and all of those great songs. And as a matter of trivia, very first scene of Back to the Future, Marty McFly is racing to get to his audition for the talent show. He gets there and he has his band there, and sitting among the judges is none other than
Huey
Lewis, playing a very kind of nerdy character. And do you remember what he says in response to the performance by Marty McFly?
No.
I don't remember the exact quote. No, it was not good.
No, it wasn't. Of course, it was negative. But he says it's just a little bit too loud. And of course, he's disappointed. But Huey Lewis makes his cameo performance in that first movie fantastic.
He's got those big glasses on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Looked pretty nerdy.
We are talking about Back to the Future this morning because today is October the 21st, 2015, the day that Marty McFly returned back to the future. And we're talking with Dr. Jonathan Moore, Jeff Taylor. And when we come back, we are going to give away an item that Dr. Moore has brought in this morning. And I'm not sure whether to tell people what it is just yet, so we'll hold off on talking about that when we come back. And also when we come back, Jeff Taylor performing his version in rendition of Huey Lewis's Power of Love. We'll be right back on Mid-Mornings with Amy, presented by the Mole Hole of Somerset, and Back to the Future Day, presented by Cumberland Foot and Ankle.
If I could turn back time for the longest time. Whoa.
For the longest time, we've been waiting for this day on Mid-Mornings with Amy. We're celebrating Back to the Future Day on this Wednesday, October the 21st. Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Jonathan Moore and Jeff Taylor this morning about Back to the Future Day. And we are going to get into some more interesting facts and pieces of knowledge about Back to the Future. But before we do that, we do have our Mid-Mornings question for you this morning. We're going to do that, and then it's all Jeff Taylor with a little Huey Lewis Power of Love. And Dr. Moore has brought in the item that we are giving away on the show this morning, and it is a magazine article from the 80s about Back to the Future, signed by Michael J. Fox. It's in a nice little plastic cover for you, and this is what's waiting for the first person to call our studio this morning who has not won a prize on Mid-Mornings with Amy in the month of October, who gets our question right this morning. It's a difficult question, I will tell you that. The number to the studio, 679-9959. 679-9959. And Dr. Moore, what is the question?
Well, there are two actors that make their film debut in the trilogy, and I say the trilogy because one of these is in part 2, and the other one is in part 1 and part 2. But two actors who went on to be in films that grossed $1 billion. And so there's not many films that have done that. So, but I just need the name of these two actors, which are well-known actors.
And you're looking for their real life name, not their character name, their actual
their real names,
given name.
Yeah, and you know, both of these characters have very recognizable names, and they both made their film debuts in Back to the Future, the trilogy.
Looking for two names this morning of those two actors.
Yes.
Who made their film debuts in the Back to the Future trilogy, who went on to, as Dr. Moore said, star in films, two different films.
Yes, right.
That grossed over $1 billion.
That's exactly right.
And we do need both names.
We do need both names
no
because
partial credit. This is a
Michael
prize.
J. Fox autographed news
Man, that's nice.
release right here.
This is a heck of a prize.
So we'll see. The number to the studio, 679-9959, 679-9959. Good morning. You're on Mid-Mornings with Amy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's see how brave you are this morning. What are those two actors' names?
I'm wanting to say Christopher Lloyd. That's probably wrong, right?
That is not the name we're looking for. Christopher Lloyd, of course, played Doc Brown, was in the trilogy, but not who we're looking for.
And let me just add an additional clue. And none of these individuals, these two actors, were actually in the main cast.
Yes.
So they're not Michael J. Fox. They're not Leah Thompson. Not Christopher Lloyd. So they are not among the main cast.
Not among the main cast. And when we were talking about this question earlier, I did not know the answer, but you told me the answer, and then once you know who they are, you can
Yeah.
begin to place them
Yeah.
in the film.
There's some serious Googling going on, I think, here.
We will wait.
This is a tough question.
Just a few more seconds. We really want someone to get this question right this morning so that they can take home this magazine article about Back to the Future, signed by Michael J. Fox. But in the next couple of minutes, if someone does not call in with the correct answer to the question, you do have until the end of this week to try to come up with the answers. Call us here at the studio, tell us those answers, and then you can take home your prize, because this is a difficult question. So, but we really want someone to get it right on the show while Dr. Moore and Jeff are here, and while it's actually Back to the Future Day.
Exactly.
So one more time, Dr. Moore, the question. Actually,
Yeah.
somebody's on the line. So
Okay,
let's see if somebody can get this right this morning. Good morning. You're on Mid Mornings with Amy.
Is it James Tolkien and Billy Zane?
What's the first name that was said? I can't.
Say it one more time.
Tolkien?
James Tolkien, is that the name you gave?
Yeah,
And Billy Zane.
and Billy Zane, yeah.
That's incorrect.
That is definitely the closer of the
Yes,
two answers
yes,
to being correct.
Is there partial?
This
Correctness?
is too nice of a prize to not have the whole correct.
Yeah, no,
two
I was
answers.
just wanting to know. We don't want people to think if that answer was totally wrong. Let's let people know that, or let's people know.
That's the closer of the two answers that have been given
Yes.
to be
Okay.
correct. So if take that as you will.
Okay.
Take that as you will. So one more time, we'll give somebody time to call one more time. What's the
Okay,
question?
all right. So there are two actors that make their film debut. So just as a hint, that would infer that these are younger people because they're making their film debut. James Tolkien, of course, was probably in his 60s or 50s when he... So James Tolkien, good name there. Of course, James Tolkien played the principal in the movie. But name the two actors who make their film debut in the Back to the Future trilogy that went on to make films that grossed $1 billion.
We've got one more caller. We'll take one more call, and let's hope this is correct. Good morning. You're on Mid Mornings with Amy.
James Tolkien and Elijah Wood.
Oh, goodness. Once again. No, I'm so sorry. That's not the right answer, but very close.
Yes, very close.
May I give a hint?
Yes, yeah.
Between the last two answers that have been given, there's a correct answer
Yes.
in there somewhere.
That's what I was trying to get about the wrong answer. I didn't want people to disregard all of
Okay,
that.
I
one
said
wrong.
that was the last call, but we do have somebody on the phone. So one more time.
This is going to
And
be.
then-
This is the magic
And then it's
one
power,
right here. I can
power
tell.
of love time. Good morning. You're on Mid Mornings with Amy.
Is it Elijah Wood and Billy Zane?
That is exactly right. Good job.
That is correct. Well, congratulations. What's your name?
Casey.
Casey, you probably know where we are here at Somerset 106, don't you?
Yes.
Well, there is a nice magazine article, courtesy of Dr. Moore, signed by Michael J. Fox. It's a Back to the Future magazine article. So congratulations,
And the
Casey.
two movies, Amy. The two,
Oh, yes, the two movies that grossed $1 billion.
Yeah, Billy Zane went on to be in this little tiny movie by James Cameron called Titanic.
Titanic, yeah.
And then Elijah Wood, of course, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
And so, great answer, good job, and
Good job, Casey. Congratulations, and thanks for listening this morning.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Okay, I'm so glad somebody actually got
Yes,
that right on Back
I
to the
am too.
Future Day. I didn't want to have to extend this through the rest of the week. Okay, Jeff Taylor. Jeff Taylor, he is with the Lake Cumberland Blues Society. He's been on Mid Mornings with Amy a few times before. And the last time he was here, I told him about this day and asked him if he would do his own rendition of Huey Lewis's Power in the News. So, Jeff, there you go. It's all you.
All right. Well, you know, a little twist of that song is bum 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 bum. Oh, the power of love is a curious thing. Make one man weep, make another man sing. Change your hawk into a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. Tougher than diamonds, rich like cream, stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream. Make a bad one good, make a wrong one right. The power of love that keeps you home at night. You don't need money, you don't need fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden and it's cruel sometimes, but you just might save your life. The power of love, that's the power. The first time you feel it, it might make you sad. The next time you feel it, it just might make you mad. But you'll be glad, baby, when you found the power that makes the world go round. It don't take money, it don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. That's the power. Oh, can you feel it now? Hey, dog, can you feel it? That's the power. That's the power of love. Hey, dog, can you feel it, man? You don't need money, and it don't take fame. Don't need no credit card to ride this train. Tougher than diamonds, stronger than steel. You won't feel nothing till you feel the power, just the power of love. That's the power, that's the power of love. Can you feel it now? That's the power of love.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you. How long did you work on that?
It took a while. It's kind of hard to do that song without having a band, so.
But you did a very nice job. And definitely the blues came out in that.
Thank you very much.
I think you made Huey Lewis pretty proud. Dr. Moore, what do you think about that?
I loved it. It's a great song, and it's definitely a different motif in the blues range there, and so it's outstanding. It's great.
In the movie Back to the Future 2, of course, that is when Marty McFly went to the future, October 21st, 2015. And times were a little different then. Lots of things in that movie, 2015. So we're going to just talk about a couple of things that Robert Zemeckis believed would be true in 2015.
Yeah.
And are they true? So let's start with the hoverboard. The hoverboard.
Not quite there yet.
Not
Amy.
quite there, but they're close.
Yeah,
but we're close.
You know, a lot of the things that they envisioned are in in some shape or form in a test phase or they're in an early phase of development. But I can't wait for that one.
The hoverboard.
For sure. Yeah.
The 3D movie, which of course we have.
Of course, the technology has advanced incredibly, but the holographic.
Remember the
pieces,
shark coming out
exactly,
and
from from
On Michael
of course,
J. Fox.
Jaws 19.
Jaws 19. Yes.
Jaws
Now,
19.
we're not there yet. Okay, I have to pause for a very quick thought. Do you watch the Sharknado movies?
I don't.
That's probably beneath your
Sorry about that.
movie intellect there, but okay, we'll talk about Sharknado another time.
Sharknado.
The food hydrator
Yeah.
was in Back to the Future too.
Yeah,
We're there.
There are again, I think some elements of using trash to create, fuel in some shape or form. But yeah, fascinating. Yeah,
Self-tying shoes.
yeah. There are prototypes that actually do it. They're not near to the level of being at market, but of course that shoe that Marty McFly wore was a Nike. And of course, Nike came out with a version of that same shoe that they sold. I think a limited quantity. But
Do you envision yourself, if those ever truly come to fruition, selling them at Cumberland Run Walk, the self-tying shoe?
that's a great question. That can be hazardous for sure, and a lot of elements.
As a
but-
performer, Jeff, could you take advantage of the self-tying shoe when you're
Maybe
walking
not,
around
but I
and
tell you what,
performing
I
on
would
stage?
love to see again. I would love to see like a stainless steel car like the DeLorean.
Oh
The
yeah.
DeLorean.
Something back today, man.
with a flux capacitor.
I hated that car in that movie, but now today I've got a few years on me. Damn, I'd love to have one of those cars.
And of course, the flying car. I mean, we're
Yes.
the DeLorean
Yes.
flies in that movie, and we do have flying cars now. So there are multiple prototypes of.
I think
flying
that's
cars.
even more dangerous than the self-tying
Oh
shoe.
yeah, probably so. Yeah.
The phone in the glasses.
Yeah, the first thing that you think of is the video conferencing and a lot of elements of the scene in that particular part of the film where they have these things on the contraptions on their head where they're able to watch TV and multitask and of course the family's a wreck. If you remember in part 2, the McFly family is completely dysfunctional. And that's what's happening today with so many diversions from sitting down at the table and eating dinner. But I thought of the Google Glass.
The Google glasses. That's what I was thinking of too.
A lot of people seem to forget, too, when talking about Marty McFly coming to the future, that at one point he comes to the future on this day, and it's Biff World, right? Where,
Yes.
drive-by shootings.
Yes,
and everything.
exactly.
People forget about that version of today.
That's exactly right. But you remember the reason why he becomes so wealthy is that he steals the
book.
sports catalog.
And speaking of sports, another coming true, possibly from Back to the Future too. Don't shake your head, Greg Moore. I ran this by Mike Tarter this morning.
Okay.
The Cubs won the World Series
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Back to the Future too.
It would have been so
The
great.
Cubs are in the World Series right now. It's highly unlikely, but possible that they could win the World Series.
Well, I tell you what, I hope it happens, but I think it's pretty slim.
But it could happen. That's what we need to hang on to. It could
Well, it would
happen.
be great. It'd be great. Yeah.
It could happen. So, anything else from the movie that you can remember from Back to the Future 2 that they believed we would have on this day?
Well, I think the
In the
cool
future.
thing is at the clock tower, someone comes and presents they have a tablet. And I think instead of a paper, they have a tablet. Which,
They do, yes.
Which is way ahead of its time. And of course, tablets are commonly used now. But it was great writing. And,
Flat
and-
screen TVs.
Flat screen
It was on
TVs,
like a
yes.
blind that you pulled
That's
down,
exactly
but it
right.
was flat.
Right. And then, of course, remember, I can't remember the character's name, but there's an African American character who's running for
Goldie,
who runs for mayor, and then
Yes.
I don't remember if he. Of course, we have an African American president, and so that was really, I think, a pretty amazing foresight.
Were all of those, as you call them, foresights, was that all Robert Zemeckis?
There was another writer whose name was Bob Gale, who I think was really the inspiration behind a lot of these concepts. And I may be getting the last name wrong there, but his name was Bob. And
But together they came up with all of
they
the visions
did.
of 2015.
Just way ahead of its time. And what's so cool is how they merge elements of history, like when at the big band scene, and you have. The name of the band is actually Mary Berry and the Starlighters. The name of the band that's there.
Yes.
And of course, it's a cousin to the great musician Chuck Berry. And if you remember the scene where he says Chuck,
Chuck Berry.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
Chuck Berry.
you have the merging of some of the elements of history with Chuck Berry, and of course, I don't think Chuck Berry had a cousin whose name was Marion, but it was a great idea.
How do you believe that Back to the Future and the trilogy itself relates in terms of movies that have influenced pop culture?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it really ranks up there pretty high, and I think that you're looking at you're looking at the Star Wars trilogy. You look at the Indiana Jones trilogy, all of which were kind of set in this time frame. But I think it's definitely going to rank among the great trilogies of all time because of the story.
I agree. I completely agree. I knew we were going to probably run out of time this morning, Greg. Do we need to take a break, or can we just keep going?
We can talk right up until the top of the hour, but
Okay.
no, the news is coming in about 2 minutes.
The CBS News at the top of the hour, so we're just going to keep going this morning. We were planning to take another break and do another mid-mornings question because the Mole Hole of Somerset has a really cool 1950s themed clock that they're going to give away this morning. So we will save that prize for another day. So let's continue on. Back to the Future. Christopher Lloyd, do you know what he's doing now?
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd, of course, went on and of course has done several small films since that movie, but got a start in Taxi. I think
Yes.
that you were talking about that
Yes.
earlier. Just a great character actor. But I think that what's fascinating is some of the characters who disappeared. Crispin Glover, George McFly, pretty much kind of fell
I
off
don't
the
think
radar.
I've ever seen him in any other film.
You know, the movie that people would probably recognize him in is Charlie's Angels. He played the villain in a Charlie's Angel, the Drew Barrymore
Yes.
version. He's a very quirky character in person and in films, but also Biff Tanner, the actor
Biff.
by the name of Tom Wilson.
Yes.
And he is a comedian who still actually does stand up. But
This is, Dr. Moore, been a great day. Thank you so much for
my
being
pleasure.
here. You have to come back because I want to talk about The Walking Dead.
Oh,
I
yes.
want to revisit Sharknado with you, and of course, lots of other movies and pop culture things to talk about with
No,
you.
it's
So
my
please
pleasure.
come
Thank you
back
so much
again.
for
Thank you
inviting me.
so much for being here. Thank you to
pleasure.
Cumberland Foot and Ankle for sponsoring and presenting Back to the Future Day. Of course, the amazing Jeff Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you for Power of Love this morning. That was
Absolutely.
wonderful. You will come back as well because you're one of my favorite local musicians. Thank you so much. Of course, Greg, as always, thanks for doing what you do over there on Mid Mornings with Amy. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Happy Back to the Future Day.